So in today's video, I want to share my personal experience using the Insta360 X4, why I love this camera and why I think this outperforms every single action camera that I have, and basically why I think this is a must-have camera. So let's get into it. The first one is of course going to be 8K 360 videos, even though 8K is not really 8K quality because it's recorded throughout a 360-degree field of view. The quality is still far better than the X3 and not far behind the other action cameras I own, to be honest. Now, using a 360 camera is also more fun and more convenient, and it's not a camera I would use to shoot cinematic or high quality videos though, but a camera I'd use for everything else. And as a father of two and a family that loves to travel, I'd be able to capture every single aspect of our trips and my life with the press of a button. So no need to frame the shots or change settings, buy additional accessories, nothing. So 99% of the time I just shoot straight from the hip with the basic selfie stick. Now, moving over to number 2, since the X4 shoots 360 videos in 8K resolution, it means that the final exported video will be higher than what I had with the X3. So with the X3, the final exported video was closer to 1440p, and some shots even looked like 1080p or worse. But with the X4 now, I have a final export closer to 2.7K, give or take. It also depends on your environment and the shooting conditions, but it's overall a better camera and it produces a better image than my previous X3. Now, moving over to number 3, that is me mode. This is something none of the other cameras can do. Well, we have the Pocket 3, which has Active Track 6.0, which is also amazing, and of course the X3, which has me mode. But the only problem with the Pocket 3, for example, is that it's limited to how far it can rotate, so it can't rotate 360 degrees, and it's not actually an action camera either. But for tracking and quality comparison, the Pocket 3 is by far the best when it comes to quality, but the X4 is better with tracking, in my opinion, and it allows me to extend the selfie stick how much I want, and then I can track my whole body, for example. And with the invisible selfie stick, I don't have to have the stick in frame, which is always nice. So if I was doing the same thing with the Pocket 3, I would have to extend it very far out to get my whole body in the frame, and I would also most likely see the selfie stick, which is something I try to avoid when I get those types of shots, and that's where I think the Insta360 X4 shines best. And compared to the X3, which records me mode in 1080p, we have a huge upgrade with the X4, which records that me mode in 4K, which is a huge difference when it comes to comparing these two cameras. Now, moving over to the next one, which basically takes us back to tracking, and that is Deep Track, which is an additional in-app feature which is not possible with the regular action camera like a GoPro Hero 12, for example. The reason this is a huge feature for me is that I can decide when and when not to use it, and it basically tracks everything or anything I want it to track. So instead of always having to point the camera at a certain person you're recording or something like that, let's say you do a hike or we have a conversation, for example, or if I move the camera from one side to the other, I can just deep track everything, and that subject or object will always be in the frame as long as I want. So it's basically me mode, but in 360 mode and at 8K resolution. Now, moving over to the next one, which is single lens mode, because the X4 does also have single lens mode, which makes it the most versatile camera available. So instead of being limited to only 360 cameras, I can also record those regular action camera videos in 4K up to 60 FPS, for example, just like I do with the GoPro 12, the Action 4, and the Ace Pro, or any other action camera for that matter. Even though the quality of the videos will look a bit better on other cameras like the GoPro, I wouldn't trade the versatility of the X4 for anything. The biggest advantage with the X4 is that you can change between 8K 360 videos and the regular 4K videos with the tap of a button, which means I'm basically not limited to what and how I film my videos, because I can capture everything with the 360 mode in 8K, and then I can get some straightforward POV shots with the 4K single lens mode. Now, number 6 is more directed to motovlogging or bikers, but I don't think I've seen this before, and this might actually be the first 360 action camera, or the first action camera that actually can connect directly to your intercom, which is fantastic and something I've been testing out lately. And to be able to just say stop and start record when you're at speed and when you can't really use gesture control, you know, this is amazing. So in case something happens on the road or I see something, I can just, you know, start recording by saying start recording. But of course I can do the exact same thing with the DJI Mic 2 when I connect that to the X4, but the difference here is that I have to plug everything in advanced. And if you don't have the Mic 2, for example, or maybe you just ride with no talk, this is an amazing feature. Now, moving over to the next one, which is something I love when I'm out traveling, and that is underwater. Reframing underwater. I must admit, you know, the X4 really sucks underwater, and it produces a really awful image if you don't use the dive case, and I wish it was better, but personally, I can justify every single dollar spent on the dive case, and yeah, I did buy the dive case myself. The biggest advantage for me, and why I mean this is the best camera to bring on your vacation, is that you get this exact same experience below water as you get above water. Even though the sensor is smaller than the Action 4 and the Ace Pro, for example, the versatility is much better and it actually looks good. Even though I had a really hard time finding some fish, I mean, these shots look spot on, and I can't wait to see what this can do in a more tropical environment. Now, number 8 is 360 slow motion at 4K resolution. One of the things is that I don't have to connect to an app just to see how the framing is. If I want to get some shots from lower angles, for example, I can just hold it in a random position and it will capture everything, which is fantastic. And as for quality, I mean, it looks pretty decent. And talking about reframing, number 9 takes us back to what I consider the most intuitive AI editing app. The reason I enjoy using the Insta360 mobile app so much is that I have all the controls over the footage. I have just as much control over the footage in the mobile app as I have in the studio app. And there's even more in the mobile app. There's tons of different features which makes editing more fun, and I also have all these effects I can use and also tutorials on how to use them. And I just like how organized everything is, from checking your footage to the shot lab and the AI editor, which makes some really great on-the-go edits for Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. Now, the biggest reason to get a 360 camera and the X4 is of course going to be the invisible selfie stick. This is what makes the whole 360 experience so much fun and so good. So instead of always having to hold your hand further out or adjust the camera for every single clip just to avoid having that selfie stick in the frame, with the X4 and the invisible selfie stick, you can just hold it exactly how you want, and no matter how you hold it, the selfie stick will always be invisible. Now, as for durability, which is probably one of the most important things and one of the things that people look into, a lot of people actually question whether or not the X4 is that durable and if it can take a fall or not, and the question is yes, but it does require the use of lens protections. Thankfully, you'll get a free pair of lens protectors included when you buy the X4, but the best protection I recommend is getting the premium lens guards, which is stronger, more durable, and they actually saved my X4 on my last trip when I was out riding, and I just hit this biggest hole in the road and it just fell off, but you know, the premium lens guard saved my X4 and I can still use it without any issues. And now, because of the premium lens guards, I kind of feel more comfortable using this in the same way as I use my other cameras, which is fantastic. Now, number 12 is fake drone shots, and this is actually something I've been doing a lot over the past few years, and nothing really beats the simplicity of a 360 camera if you ask me. The only thing I use is basically the 3-meter selfie stick from Insta360, and I hit record and hold the camera as high and steady as possible. And later I can just use deep track if I want to do that to keep the subject in frame, or I can manually keyframe how I want. But of course I can do this with the Pocket 3, the Action 4 and the GoPro and the Ace Pro and the Go 3S as well, or any other camera. It's just that I have to put more effort into making it look good, which is something I try to avoid when I'm out traveling. And if I can have one camera that does everything, 360 videos, normal videos, has tracking and is waterproof down to 10 meter, I mean, this would be my camera. Now, moving over to the next one, which is compatibility, which we see more of when it comes to these cameras, especially with the new releases. The only camera behind, which has always been behind, is GoPro. And what I mean is that all of the cameras have this seamless connection with the DJI Mic 2, and I think DJI Mic 2 is essential because there's a lot of creators using that, and for me that's my go-to microphone for making content when I'm out traveling. So that's one of the reasons I think the GoPro is far behind. But because we have this Bluetooth connection on the X4, I can easily connect it with the Mic 2, and I don't need to have all these wires, these cables, I mean, hanging around on my helmet. It's super easy, super convenient to use. So if you don't have the Mic 2, I highly recommend getting that as your travel microphone, or you can even use it in your studio. Now, the X4 is also waterproof down to 33 feet or 10 meters. Even though the 360 footage looks bad without the dive case, you can still use the single lens mode underwater to capture normal videos like any other camera, which is fantastic. So in theory, you don't have to buy the invisible dive case if you just want to capture some straightforward underwater shots. You can just use the single lens mode. Number 15 is low light, and even though I rarely shoot videos in low light with any camera basically, I actually think the low light footage coming from the X4 looks good. And for me, it's more than good enough for traveling and the ways that I capture videos. And I also feel like I have more freedom in terms of framing, which also means I can capture everything at the same time and then go back and change later. I can even make some amazing time lapses and then reframe those time lapses later, which is something you can't do with a regular action camera. Now, getting close to the end here, let's take a look at number 16, which takes us back to the Insta360 app or Studio app and the feature called Direction Lock. This is probably the most convenient and beginner-friendly feature you can use as a beginner or as a professional. So what this does is basically to lock the angle of the camera to, you know, whatever position you decide. So no matter how you move the camera, the direction will always be the same. So let's take this shot for example. If I didn't use Direction Lock, the framing would be all over the place, and as an end result, the footage would look pretty bad. But when I turn on Direction Lock, the framing will stay consistent throughout the entire video, which means that I don't have to add any keyframes at all, or if I want to add keyframes, I can just do that to smaller parts of the video instead. And to me, this is one of the features that makes editing 360 videos so easy. Even though it's a 360 camera, it doesn't mean you always have to keyframe and always have to make it look like a 360 camera. You know, sometimes less is more. Now, getting close to the end here, number 17 is flow state stabilization with horizon lock. So basically, no matter how you move the camera, if it's up and down, side to side, rotate, you know, the horizon will always stay the same, which makes this so good. But I don't want to overhype the flow state stabilization on the X4. I mean, DJI and GoPro, this also have some pretty insane stabilization. And I think we're at a point now where no matter camera or brand, this stabilization will be outstanding. Now, the next one is accessories, or the accessories you don't need basically. So with a 360 camera, you only need a selfie stick and that's it, because it records 360-degree videos and it has horizon lock. So no matter where you place it or how you hold it, if it's upside down or to an angle, you will always have this leveled shot. So it will be much easier or more convenient, more effortless to get the shot, which is the biggest advantage with a 360 camera. There's basically no effort required to shoot 360 videos, which means that I can enjoy more of what I'm doing rather than having to make sure that the framing is always good. Now, rounding up here, number 19 is the creative freedom I have. So whether I'm out traveling, riding the bike, do a hike with the kids, or just chill at the pool, it's so easy to get these creative shots without being creative, I would say. So what I like to do is to just mount the camera in all different places and just don't think about it at all, and then later I can go back and check the footage. I can adjust however I want, and sometimes I'm actually amazed with what type of footage I managed to capture. And I more often get that wow feeling with the 360 camera and the X4 because of the quality improvements as well than I would ever get with a regular action camera, which is why I think this outperforms every single camera I've ever used. Now, the last one, number 20, and the reason this outperforms all my other cameras. The main reason is that it shoots 360 videos, which I love, and the second reason is that it shoots better videos than the X3, and the third reason is the invisible selfie stick. And I mean, I can go on and on with my favorite things about a 360 camera, but I would say that the X4 is the ultimate do-it-all camera, the complete travel camera, and the camera that requires the least amount of effort to capture everything you need and more. And because it records everything, you might actually be able to capture something you didn't really pay attention to, which often adds to a better video. And when it comes to the editing process, I mean, it's not really that hard, and it's not as hard as you might think. We have the AI editing in the app, we also have direction lock, which is fantastic and something I use all the time, and we have me mode for self-tracking, or you can use deep track in the app, which all basically makes the videos for you. So the only part you have to do is to hit record and upload your video. So yeah, if there's one camera that I can highly recommend, it would be the X4, simply because I just use it more than the other cameras, because I love the 360 videos. And I mean, this might not be your main camera, it could be your sidekick, it could be your main travel camera if you really enjoy it, but you know, that's going to be completely up to you whether or not you want to buy it at all. But these are my 20 reasons of why I think this outperforms all my other cameras. But I also want your honest input on the X4. Is this something that you can see yourself using as a travel camera in the future, or do you already have one? So let me know in the comments below, guys, and also don't forget to check out my X4 cheat sheets if you need a helping hand when you're out traveling. This contains simple guides of how you can improve your videos with creative shots, settings, and more. So yeah, with that said, that's everything for today's video. Really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and if you want to see more videos on the X4, let me know in the comments below. So until next time, thanks for watching, bye bye.